Hi, I'm Christa,
Hi there, my name is Jose.
and we're Connect and Remodeling.
Yes.
We are general contractors here in Los Angeles, and we do residential remodeling. Today, we're going to talk about something that we've heard a lot of people want to know, and that's what do you do if your kitchen contractor is asking for money up front, specifically here in Los Angeles? Is that normal? So, what do you think, Jose? Like, from a contractor's perspective, is that normal for a kitchen contractor to ask for money up front?
So the question is it normal to ask, right? So yes, contractors do ask a lot of the times for money up front, but is it correct or is it what the law really allows? And that's what we're going to be sharing here today. What is expected and what the law can really be on your side to cover you. For example, a contractor can never ask you more than 10% or $1,000, whichever is less of the price.
If you're like legal wise, you're totally right. They can't ask for like here in California, the law is like he said, 10% or $1,000, whichever's less. So if you have a large job, the max that your contractor can ask you for is $1,000, and most jobs are semi-large, especially for a kitchen contractor.
Yeah, and for example, what is the reality of a contractor's side? So the reality is that often, contractors don't have $30 to $100 to float. To
$100,000. $100.
Yeah, $30,000 to $100,000, to flow through the project, because money upfront really does help to do scheduling, to start buying a lot of the rough materials in advance, which are always needed. And honestly, the majority of the times, the 10% or the $1,000 never covers that. So the majority of the cases, contractors are always, upfronting this money.
And like just talking about the contractor's perspective when asking for money up front, there is obviously the contractor's perspective, the homeowner's perspective, and then what's legal. So I know you already know what's legal. There are contractors that will basically they'll ask for the deposit, and then they'll have one of their first milestones be the demolition, which is totally normal. Milestones are super normal. And those are what's called progress payments. And that way, like he said, it's not that often that a contractor just easily has $30,000, $100,000 to front. And usually when working on a kitchen, one of the first things to do is plumbing, and that's one of the most expensive parts of the job. So it's very important that the contractor understands how to make their milestones, and demolition might be a big one. And also like shopping for materials might be another milestone. So from the contractor's perspective, I understand why they might ask for a lot of money up front, because it is difficult, right? But then at the same time, like on a homeowner side, like if I was the homeowner, I would feel a little bit like I'm maybe getting scammed by being asked for a lot of money up front, or that I might be just worried about the trust, especially if it's a new contractor, right?
Yes, yeah, that is correct, and it's totally fair to have that fear, especially if you don't have the relationship with this contractor. If it's new to you, definitely that will be something that we will always recommend to at least stay to clear communication, have a clear understanding of what the milestones are, so that way, money is moving and is flowing at the time that is needed and is being written down, prior everybody decided to move forward with the project.
And I think that the homeowner should obviously review the progress payments with the contractor. I actually, on large projects, I'll take our clients and I'll walk them through the progress payments, especially because I know what might be a large project for some contractors that could extend easily 3 to 6 months, might take us, a month to 2 months. I feel like we've gotten our systems and scheduling down really well. So I like to let people know how soon they might expect to pay. So I usually try to give them a rough idea of like, this is probably going to be the deposit, obviously, is to say that we wanted to work together. And that's a good faith deposit because it really doesn't pay for anything. That $1,000, it pays for very little. Sometimes not even the permits for the job. But from there is to have a progress payment be okay. It's going to be demo. It'll be plumbing. Those are going to happen pretty quickly. And the reason that we do that is to make sure that we're covering everything for the job, so we actually have the funds flowing for the full job. Progress payments are super important, and I do think a contract, like, I don't know about you, but I think contractors should review that with the homeowner, and I think the homeowner should ask the contractor, like, hey, can we review the milestone payments or progress payments is what they're called.
Yeah, absolutely. And this might be a little repetitive, but the questions that we've been asked is what is really legal? What is basically normal? In this case, what is expected prior to the project starts? And definitely that has been one of the questions for everyone to understand, not only homeowners, but contractors to be on the same page.
Yeah, and there always should be some type of progress payment, unless it's a very small job. Like if it's a very small job, I think we'll take a deposit, and then most likely if it's a small job, it's a 10% deposit just to lock in the day, and then from there we'll usually just do a final invoice. It's mainly on larger projects that require $30,000-$40,000 rotating that we ask for progress payments. But progress payments and milestone payments are totally normal. And I would say especially like right after demo, as a homeowner, you should probably expect to pay because the demo involves trash, and we know at least I know trash is expensive.
Yeah,
it gets pricey. So the demo milestone is pretty normal, and then from there, there's usually a couple more. I would say 3 to 4 milestones, unless it's a project that's spanning like a year or two.
Right.
That's going to change a little bit.
Which could be some cases. And you mentioned something very important, like if it's a small job, a lot of these rules don't quite apply because if you're going to finish it within a couple of days, it's different. Usually a kitchen can take 3 to 4 weeks, very easy, with inspections, a little more sometimes because the inspections are involved. Christa, what would you say, for example, the percentage that a client should be expecting to receive for milestones?
So it depends on the contractor. It really does. For us, we do the initial deposit, the legal deposit for California, and then from there we break most of it down by 25%, leaving the final as 15% is usually where we're at. And the reason we do that is just because, like we've been talking, from the contractor's perspective, they have to make sure that their teams get paid, that the subs get paid. And when I say subs, I mean subcontractors. For example, like we work with a glass team that specializes in glass, and so we have to make sure that they're paid, that their deposits are paid throughout the job, the full scope of the job. Another thing that, just speaking from contractor, is that when you buy materials, obviously not everyone has access to what's called a net 30, so a time frame. Not every company offers that. So depending on where you're getting your materials, you might have to pay up front as opposed to a waiting thing. So, but us, we do on average, like our contracts, they're the initial deposit 25%, and then we have 25%, 25%. I usually do demo, plumbing, and then from there it's like usually painting or something, depending on where we're at, and then the final amount, which changes because in our contracts, which I highly recommend that all contractors do this, but we include a contingency because one of our goals when we're working with clients is not to add many change orders, and change orders happen, especially with plumbing.
Yes,
but
they're expected.
Yeah, but we like the contingency to be there so our clients can at least see this is the max that we think that you're going to pay even after change orders, as opposed to later hitting them with change orders, adding an extra $5 to $10,000 on the bill. So we like to include a contingency, and basically the goal with our estimates is to have it less, the total to be less than what we're actually saying.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time, so that's great.
And going back still to the client's perspectives, because I feel like there's many clients that already have experience, doing projects, but if you're new in this industry, at least taking your first project, I would say there are red flags to consider.
Yeah, I mean, as a homeowner, you should, if somebody, like, I feel like the biggest red flag that we've even seen happen is like people will ask for like 50% up front. Like contractors will sometimes say, oh, just give me half. And that sounds normal when you first think about it. You're like, okay, half now and half when you're done. Total red flag, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's a big one because it has happened, right? That and now even homeowners notice that many people have been just ghosted
Yeah.
right after these, and that's why you do want to have the contractors to follow in some way. What really the law allows to start building the trust. Christa mentioned milestones; those are very important. And the next milestone, after the 10% or 1,000, whichever is less, it's which one is the milestone, and demolition could be like the next one.
To be one.
Yeah.
I think like he said, we've actually had clients that have told us horror stories from the past that they've worked with contractors who they paid 50% up front thinking that was normal, because I think a lot of homeowners don't actually know that the law states that the contractor can't legally ask for more than $1,000 or 10%, whatever's less.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason we keep saying that is because there's no reason for a homeowner to make a deposit for someone who's never even stepped inside their house.
Correct.
That's more than that. So that's why the Contractor State License Board, what you could call the CSLB, is the initials for it, or is that acronym? I don't know what it's called, but CSLB, they put that there, and they actually asked that specific sentence be on all of our estimates, and it has to actually be a certain, like, I think it's like 12-point font, so it actually has to be a certain size, so that way the homeowner you guys can like actually see that request is there. So if someone's asking you for 50% up front, it's a red flag. Like we've had, like he said, people that have asked for that and then they've left and just taken the money. And it's, I mean, if you're working with somebody that you're new with, trust is so important. They might seem nice, but there's no reason not to like work off the contracts, right?
Yeah, and you basically just read my mind. Before the whole project, you want to make sure that one of the things you ask is to have a clear breakdown of what you're getting and what you're not getting. Because if you don't, it's very easy to sidetrack from what was originally said at the very beginning. A contractor should give you a written, understandable, clear contract for you to understand what you're getting.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad idea, like I was saying earlier, is to ask them to review it with you. So to ask them like, hey, can we review it? And then specifically look at the terms and conditions, and that usually should include the warranty, all that. But it, like he was saying, what's included. Sometimes some contractors won't include aesthetic materials, which what we call like tile for your backsplash, or stone, or even the kitchen cabinets or faucets. Yeah, appliances. So it's good to know what's included in the kitchen remodel and what's not included. That way you know if those payments cover that as well or they don't. So if they're asking for a lot of money up front, it's just a red flag to me. But definitely find out what's included by reviewing the contract with them. And if there is no contract, clearly like that's not a good thing. Can I mention one more thing about that? Yeah. Okay, so if I know that some contractors, I mean, I know, but I've heard stories. They'll say, oh, I'll give you a deal if you pay cash. I don't think that you should ever pay cash, because especially if you have a contract personally, because cash is so untraceable. And if you have a contract and they ask you for cash, there's no proof that you actually like paid them, and there's no reason for them to do the work. So I definitely recommend against cash. I would say ACH transfers, Zelle transfers, checks, credit cards, like so many other ways, but don't pay in cash. It's too high risk.
Yeah, no, it truly is. And, a good contractor will always be open to share with you and provide you with clear transparency, the work that is happening, because that's what we're here for. We are here to make sure this project runs, smoothly as much as we can, because we cannot always control everything, situations can change. Change orders can happen. Change orders commonly when they come in, especially if we don't have that contingency, it can really slow down the project. And whatever time it was scheduled to finish can easily stretch another week. And of course, if that is not expected, with the contingency money that you already understand, that at least is there to make decisions quicker.
Yeah, and I think really what we're both kind of getting at is that the homeowner has every right, if their kitchen contractor is asking them for money up front, and if that's normal, it is normal, but is it legal? No, they shouldn't ask you for more than, like we said, $1,000 or 10%, whatever's less.
Yeah.
So it's normal, but it's not legal, and the reason being is because the contractor has stuff they have to pay for, and they to be expected to fund such a large project sometimes, because kitchen remodels can definitely cost quite a bit. They typically average about $50K to start, and then move up from there.
For a kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. So I see both perspectives. So is it normal if they ask for money up front? Yes.
Is it legal?
Is it legal?
No.
Yeah. The deposit is all that's legal.
Right, and clear benchmarks is very important, and good contractors should know that, because at the end of the day, we understand that one, it's not our kitchen, it's the client's kitchen, and of course, it's always going to be the funds that the client already allowed for these that will make everything happen. Clear benchmarks, and the contractor should be at this point more than aware what is a good benchmark to provide for you to understand how your next payment will be.
Yeah, because I feel like for us, it took us a while to understand where we needed to request money for our milestones. Like example, demolition, plumbing, where the majority of the spending was happening, when it was happening. And so for us to learn that, I think a good contractor, like you said, they should know when they need money by. So they should have their milestones laid out properly, and in a clear way for them to operate smoothly, which is good, because if they have it written down well, then it helps the homeowner understand when they need to pay, and it helps the contractor just to be clear about when they expect to get paid. I personally, that I'm not a handshake deal kind of person. I like agreements. I like clear estimates. I like clarity. Because when you're in somebody's home, when you're running a business like we do, we want to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting. We feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we talk about it all the time, but we genuinely feel like we have to compensate for a lot of these contractors, because we understand that there's a lack of trust in the industry.
Yes.
By a contractor saying, "Will you give me 50% up front?" And so I feel like we have to compensate for that, overcompensate for that, in what we do by trying to bring hospitality to our industry, and try to provide clear estimates to people.
Yeah, and as we continue to bring in our point of view, our experiences to this industry, we want to share everything that we have gone through, and I'm gonna share actually something that we weren't really expected to talk about, but I feel like it's very common. For example, if somebody's running a project and the contractor is not licensed, for them to be very normal to say, you don't need permits for these remodel. And the reality, even if you don't touch plumbing or electrical, there's always a type of permit that has to be pulled, which is the building permit.
General build. But also, if you're in a kitchen and you're not touching plumbing, like typically, what are you even doing? I mean, I understand some painting, those kind of things,
yeah.
But most time, if you're remodeling a kitchen, you're touching plumbing, you're touching electrical, and you need a permit for that. It's going to go smoother for sure.
Right, and they're going to say, no, you don't need permits because we're not changing the structure. But the reality is that you do.
Yeah.
That you do. And the reason I said, because permits in this case, they're not expensive.
Actually, just to talk about the permits.
It really depends where, right?
Yeah, it depends where. Some places they can get quite costly.
Yeah, well that's true. I was talking about LA.
But if you are like reading your contract with your contractor or your let's say agreement, because I feel like contractor are getting confusing. But if you're reading this estimate, you're reading this agreement with your contractor. Find out about the permits too. Is that a milestone? Sometimes that's actually one of the milestones. Is like permits have been pulled, which makes actually a lot of sense. If their agreement says their first milestone is permits, that makes a lot of sense because the costs obviously can be thousands and thousands of dollars depending on how much. And it's not, from the contractor's perspective, it's not right to expect them to pay all that without asking you for, as a homeowner, for funds. So that should be that can be included sometimes as a milestone. But also make sure you know if the contractor is including permits. And honestly, there's no right or wrong way. Some do, some don't. But you do need to get that when you're asking questions to your contractor, like what's the deposit? What are the milestones? Are permits included? Are aesthetic materials included? And if they are, is there a list of what's included, what's not? Right?
Yeah, and typically you probably won't see a breakdown of rough materials because all that is filtered through a scope of work. And there's so many things, a lot of the times they're not necessarily
thought about,
but there are expenses as well, You have to go to the supply stores and get these materials, all that.
The contractor
does. And of course, all that adds up. Normally not listed, but it's part of the scope of work of the price, the bulk price of.
Yeah, and that's sometimes a milestone too. Like if the shopping is done for we've done that as well. Like I've had a milestone of demolition, plumbing. I don't know if you can tell that I do most of like the invoicing. But I'll have sometimes, like if I'm shopping for, say, aesthetic materials, if it's part of our cost, I'll put that as one of the
elements.
The milestone. I'll put that as a milestone, so that way they know that once the shopping is done, then I need to collect funds for that. And that helps contractors too. So,
yeah.
But as a homeowner, I think just getting like a clear understanding of the biggest thing that you should know is the deposit, what's legal, that $1,000 or 10%, whatever is less is the thing. So if 10% is, $5,000, the max they can collect is $1,000. And that's by the Contractor State License Board, and that's specifically here in California, not just Los Angeles, it's California.
Yeah. That is correct. Yeah. So.
But sometimes they will ask for like 50%, and like I said, it is common that a contractor will ask for that, but it is not legal, and I would not pay that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't pay 50% up front.
Don't pay that. And also, things can be completely different if the relationship between contractor and clients are, more closer. Like, if they know for each other, they're running now multiple projects. It's completely different. I can think there might be a little different.
Well, I know, honestly, in all transparency, we've had clients who they're busy, they're doing other things. Sometimes they're working, they're not here. So they'll pay me like more than what is on the first milestone.
Yeah.
And I would never ask for that. It does happen. Sometimes I do have a few clients that sometimes they'll just pay it all and then we manage it from there. Yeah. That puts honestly an extra added layer of I need to make sure that we over deliver because they are trusting us so much. But I never would ask somebody to pay me before a milestone is completed. I think it's just we've gotten really good about being clear about where our milestones are.
Yes. Yes.
And make them work for us, which a good contractor will make their milestones work for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important to keep that clear because once again, a good contractor will give you good direction of what the milestones are, where he doesn't get hurt, and you understand. Or she ahead of time, so you are prepared what is going to be the money needed to start these projects moving forward. Once project starts, you don't want to stop because at that point, time is money. It will hurt everyone if, for example, there's not clear understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, and I could say on that, I think that's why it's so important that the homeowner also understands that they are expected to pay the milestones when they're completed. So usually like I'll break it down. For example, like our milestones, they say initial milestone or the deposit clearly. It'll say initial milestone, demolition completion. We'll bring in. It'll say what percentage of the contract that is, and then we'll bring in our clients to come review everything, and then, we expect our clients, the homeowner, to pay us when that milestone is done. So that's why we have somebody sign an agreement, and that's why when we have larger projects, we do read through all of that so they understand when they're able to pay. Like he's saying, like as a homeowner, if you aren't ready to pay the contractor when the milestone's done, then you can't expect the project to move forward, because they will need to utilize those funds to, again, pay the people, buy the materials, basically make sure the job is happening. So I don't think you'll ever do a kitchen remodel where you're not paying milestones. If someone's doing a kitchen remodel and you don't pay till the end, that also is really weird and rare. So I would definitely expect to be paying pretty quickly. And average time, 3 to 4 weeks is pretty average for a kitchen. So you could expect to pay the full scope of work within a month at the end. Yeah. So any like final little questions you think that a homeowner can ask, or just speaking to, if specifically of contractors, like asking for money up front, the kitchen contractors asking for money up front, what should the homeowner do or ask, or sort of how can they go about addressing that?
Yeah, one of the questions that can be brought up to one, to put the contractor in perspective that you are aware of. Ask them if they're licensed.
Yeah, well, they should. If they're not licensed, watch one of our other podcast episodes, because we talk a lot about some of those red flags too. But definitely let them know you're aware of the deposit. If they're asking for a lot of money up front, let them know that. And I don't think you need to come off like rude or sharp, but just let them know that you're more comfortable paying what the CSLB, if you want to really reference it, what the CSLB states, which is the $1,000 or 10%, whatever is less.
Yeah, and to be more clear on our side is, you should not be coming up with the timelines for benchmarks. They should be already there on your contract, because contractors that are doing this, we understand that has to be clear.
Yeah.
Because if we did not have this before, that hurt us, and because we understood, now we have them.
Yeah, like I would say make sure that those benchmarks are on your agreement, because if they're not there, you really have, like, you pay the deposit, right? Say you pay the $1,000 deposit, and then all of a sudden, 3 days later, they ask for 50% of the job, which if they haven't even started, or if they've barely stepped on site, that's a little bit red flaggy, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I think I understand why a homeowner would be weary about paying a lot of money up front, and you have every right to. I do understand why a contractor would ask for it. At the end of the day, I think the same with everything in this industry is, like, you have to trust your gut. If your gut is telling you that the person you're working with is not trustworthy, trust your gut when it says that.
Yeah, I can think of another red flag to keep in mind. A lot of the times, when you're about to finish and the contractor just either calls you or tells you that he's done, never release the funds until you do have a final walkthrough.
Yeah.
And you're pleased with the work that it was done. The reason I say that is because if she said I am done, and you just go ahead and pay, and then you do a walkthrough later on and you don't like it, you might not have the leverage.
It's like you said, it's common to do a final walkthrough. Like, our last payment is accepted when we do our final walkthrough. So we'll ask for a final. We'll do a walkthrough. We'll have a punch list. So we'll write down a couple, like a little painting here, touch up here. So we'll write that punch list. Take care of it. We usually either do share the images with the homeowner, or it's usually small stuff like a little touch up, and then
Mm-hmm.
once it's done, then we collect the final payment. But like he said, don't give that final payment until the full project is done. But definitely expect to pay the milestones. That's super important.
It's important for everyone
Yeah.
that it's involved in these kitchen remodels.
Do you have any last words you want to leave people with?
I feel like we did cover, many of the questions that we were asked to share today. I do want to say that, there are many good contractors out there, and not necessarily, everyone is actually here to just do no good in terms of not be trusted. At the end of the day, clear communication will always, bring the trust to a level where everyone can start moving forward.
Feel confident and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and just my last little tidbit is on that. Like, if your contractor is asking you for a large money up front, know what is understand their perspective. Be confident when you deliver the legal request here for a deposit. In California, again, $1,000 or 10%, whatever is less. That's the deposit. That's what it is. So if they're asking for that, that's totally normal. If they're asking for more, it is, like we said, normal, but it is not legal. So make sure that you feel comfortable with the milestones that you're given. And again, trust your gut. That's what I'll leave you with. So thank you. Short episode.
Thank you.
See you soon, right?
Absolutely. See you soon.
Yeah.